And now we're going to shift gears to, probably going to hear a music tone. I don't know. I'll just wait. So I see a lot of people going for the panelists. We have an amazing fireside chat, so don't all leave. No, I'm joking. And I'm going to have Cindy and David coming here. Give them a round of applause. I see fans there in front. Very good, very good. Almost the round of applause Satish got, but we're getting there, we're getting there. We're shifting gears a bit to the farmer perspective. And just briefly, Cindy, whoever hasn't been on social media recently and hasn't seen Top 50 Farmers, shame on you. No, I'm joking. But just a brief intro of what brings you here and what is Top 50 Farmers?
Yeah. Wow, what brings me here? A lot of things, but most of all, what we do with Top 50 Farmers. And really, Top 50 Farmers is all about spotlighting the farmers. To me, the farmers are the rock stars of what we need right now. So right now, we talk a lot about land restoration, we talk about climate, water, but the people who are really going to do a lot of this work are the farmers. So with Top 50 Farmers, we are spotlighting the farmers, the pioneering farmers in Europe right now, and also showcasing that farming is very different. It's very diverse. It doesn't look one way. You can have 1 hectare, you can have 4,000 hectares. It looks different. And these are really the role models that we need to talk about, in my opinion.
And it's something that's been missing, I think, in this space. We often talk about farmers. We don't have enough on stage. I'm very thankful that David could come over. Why is that? Because many are extremely busy, working hours that we can only imagine. And of course, they're not going to take out 2 or 3 days to come to a conference, etc. So in general, already, let's say, a push for if you're organizing something and you want to have a farmer perspective, great. Look at the list that we have here. Look at some amazing farmers. Compensate them and make sure there's time and space for them to come and share. Because we need their perspectives, but you cannot expect somebody to show up again in Paris, in London, in Brussels to come and give their farmer perspective. For you, David, how did you that sounds like a really negative part. How did you end up being a farmer? And in terms of journey to, in this case, Portugal, and just give us a bit of bring us to the farm. Like how many hectares, what do we see around in this time of year? We're at the end of April because we're inside an amazing building, but there's a bit of real grass there, which is great. But just bring us to the land as well, just to transport us there.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would invite you all to go to terramay.com so that you can see the place where I live and where I work. Around 12 years ago, I was a consultant, a digital strategist, and for the first time in my life, I stopped working. And I saw a TED Talk from Alan Savory, and that was insane. That really changed my life because it took me, swiped the ground. Because I have 3 kids, I understood that there is a climate emergency. And from that moment on, I became a regenerative farmer. So
do you remember why you clicked on it, or was it complete random?
It was random.
Oh, wow.
I was really lucky, at least that's what I think. But that was the moment where I changed. I changed immediately in that moment, and I became a regenerative farmer, even without having a farm. So it took me and my business partner and friend Thomas and my wife Anna 6 years to find the right place. And we're farming now since 6 years as well in the south of Portugal, in a very desertified region, not just naturally but also socially. And that's what we do. So we fight desertification with regenerative agriculture. We have over 500 hectares. And what we do is a little bit special because we don't focus in only one thing. We also want to be autosufficient, at least in a range of 80%. So we produce greens and fruit and cereals, meat, very different kinds, eggs. We have olive oil, we have milk, we also fish. And we also have our 2 restaurants where 80% of our offering comes from the farm. And we are developing a self-sustainable hotel concept at the farm right now. So this is the short version.
You've been busy and are busy, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yes, we're 40 people working towards it.
40.
So, Thomas likes to say many times that life at Terramay is like a festival 365 days a year. So
which is, I think,
pretty intense.
You mentioned something it's not only desertified from the environmental and soil perspective, but also socially. In this case, you brought 40 people back to the land or closer to that. Like, do you get enough recognition? We're going to get to recognition in a second as well, but for the role you play, not only environmentally, restoring the soil, but also socially, community-wise, culturally, to bring back people and activity and of course economic activity to a region that didn't have most of that?
Well, there are different layers of recognition. First of all, this is just like the startup back in the 2000s in Berlin. So in our little bubble, we all know each other and recognize the work. So you feel kind of hyped. But if you are talking about business and the recognition through clients, it's very tough because you have to oversell your product. Actually, the guys that are doing bad agriculture should be the ones labeling their products with dead poisoning stickers and that kind of stuff. So in that sense, I would love to have much more recognition. And the locals, since we are in a very small place, it's very tough for them to understand what we're doing, because as we know, over 90% of the population is just thinking of surviving. They don't even have the chance of change. They're just keeping on going. So in that sense, of course, it would be great to have more recognition, yes.
And that brings us to you, Cindy. Is this typical is a difficult one, but like in terms of a new entry, very vertically integrated with a lot of different moving parts, is that something you've seen often in your journeys? You've visited many farms over the last years, of course selected a top 50. Is David like a typical example in that, or what would be your view there?
I mean, if I can first talk about the recognition part, can I come back to that? Yeah. Because I also, for today, it's like, I think most of you out there, you would know a chef. Like, how many know the name of a chef, for example? Pretty many, right? But do you also know the name of a farmer?
And don't mention David.
Okay, they will mention David, right? But very few can mention a farmer, and I think that's the problem. We are so disconnected from the people who are growing our food, and why should we give them the same recognition as chefs have? I mean, many opportunities to open up for chefs. We could definitely do the same for farmers, and that's where the recognition comes in. We need to recognize the work that is being done on the fields. So you want to pay more for your food, because that's also a big problem right now, right? So is David a typical example? I wouldn't say yes or no, because what we see in top 50 farmers, as I said before, is it looks very different. We have farms with investment. We have farms without investment. We have farms with 40 people, one with one farmer, and so it goes. So I really want us to be more familiar with like how a farm can look like and what a farmer look like, because we also need to break down the stereotypes right now in farming. I don't know what you think about when you think of a farmer. Most don't think of a pirate from Portugal, right? So they look different also, and I think that's very important.
And because it's a huge issue in Europe, but also, Josh mentioned it, like the average age of farmers.
Yes.
And the generational shift that is going to happen, if we like it or not. The current, I think it's some countries 60 plus, many it's 55 to the 60s. They're going to stop farming at some point. Yes. They can't, because most of their pension is retirement is in the land, and there's not necessarily a next generation. So it's part of your goal also to not make it sexy without making it too easy, because otherwise people get in and get super disappointed, but make at least a sort of launch pad for people to, just like we have accelerators and just like we have places that you can get into the tech scene in Berlin, how do you get into the farming scene in Portugal or other places? I don't know who wants to.
Well, I can say some words and then you can overtake. Well, I also want to make a question. Does everybody here likes to eat? Can you raise your hand if you like to eat? Okay, right now in Europe, we have less than 10% of the farmers are under 40 years old. 10%. So if you go to Portugal, we're talking about 6%. If we think of equality and parity, we have 3% of women farming in Europe. So this means that if either you just start eating processed food that you buy in these big chains that you all know, in this city at least, or we have really to motivate and give the stage to people that find farming sexy and also a business of future. Because if we keep on treating farmers as if they would be the last idiots of the whole value chain or chain of value, that is not going to happen. None of our kids has the connection. They all want to be YouTubers or footballers. They don't want to be farmers. So what Top 50 Farmers is doing is helping us all farmers to get to know each other, exchange our problems, identify solutions that we can bring together with our own means, and of course motivate a new generation of people that should step forward to create a change. So.
And how do we get out of that bubble? Because you mentioned, like, we all know each other in this regen food and ag bubble, and you're deliberately saying, no, we get out of that because we need to get into the chef, like chefs, into the cookbooks. Like, how do we get to the rest of the world? Like, what are you doing to get out of the relatively small, unfortunate regen bubble?
So with the 50 farmers, each year, we select 50 role models, you can call it. And from that on, we tell their stories, right? Because we also need to understand that agriculture, we understand when we see it and when we feel it. It's not something we can only talk about. So how do we get out of the bubble? Well, we make all of you know a farmer. That's why you have to go to 50 Farmers webpage to see 50 farmers across Europe, get to know them, read their stories, visit them, right? So we need to get people excited about farming, back to attracting the next generation. But again, in the media right now, when we learn about agriculture, everything is sad, it's destroying, these are the words out there. No, but there's also another agriculture that are benefiting the ecosystem and your health. And I think to get out of that bubble, we need to show the stories. We need to show the people who are growing the food for us.
And you launched this, not campaign, this work right in the middle of global chaos. Like, how has it been received? How has it been, how do we make sure, the sort of second part to that question, that it's top of mind, that soil health, biodiversity, our health, and the future generation of farmers is top of mind of policymakers and the general audience that is very busy with the global news that is very disturbing, honestly. Like, how have you seen the reaction to the 50 farmers and the whole campaign you've been running?
Yeah, I mean, I have done a lot of work in the space for now, but I think Top 50 Farmers is something people understand. I don't meet people who say, no, we should not recognize the farmers. It seems to make much sense for people. I think we forgot it as we are so disconnected with nature and our food. I think it brings back this like, we need to do that. So agriculture and food becomes very political very fast. With Top 50 Farmers, I believe it becomes just very human, actually. We talk about the people, we talk about the craft of agriculture, and hopefully that would also lead for people to be excited about agriculture. At some point, that will pressure the political stage, and suddenly, hopefully, things will move in that favor.
And what about you, David? Has anything changed in let's say 6 months in terms of global chaos, or you're like in our farm it's always chaotic, and this just adds a small bit to it?
Yeah, and in our farm it's organized chaos. So as I told you before, it's like a festival. I don't know. Lots of things change. Look at me. I'm a farmer. I'm in Paris talking in front of an audience. Maybe before this opportunity wouldn't be on the table. So I'm very glad that our structure allowed me to be here. I'm really impressed with the amount of people that are sitting down with us, and surely are soil makers and change makers and are thinking with us. So this gives me a lot of hope. So it's not just the recognition of other people, it's also to keep on believing that as hard as it is to do what I do, it makes sense. Because it's not for me, it's for mankind. So it's not an ego trip. It's an ecosystematical kind of thinking. So it's good to be here.
I can see you want to add something, Cindy.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm so happy you're here. I think we are really missing the farmers on stages overall. And we need more of them. And so wherever you go to a conference, please ask them to add the farmers to the stage if it makes sense, because I think we really need to learn from how it is, from the ground and up, and not only talking all high level of where we need to go. We need to understand from the ground what is needed.
Yeah, and I think there's a tendency to talk about farming and about farmers. We do that as well. We have a lot of farmers, luckily, on the podcast. But it's always, and we do quite a few farm visits and interviews on the land as well. but we're so disconnected from food, for how our food and fibers are grown, that it's very difficult to connect back, unless you go and listen and actually connect with it. And do you think we're missing some narratives or storylines? I'm realizing we're running out of time. Like things that we should mention more often, apart from making farming more sexy, but in your work or in your, like things that you mention when people come and visit or in restaurants that really resonate with people that are not necessarily in this bubble, just to have a few story points or a few things that we can connect with people that are not in our scene.
From my side, so Thomas, my friend and partner, he also produces a festival called Soil to Soul. You can also search it online right now. And what they say is that the microbiome of the soil is exactly the same as the human microbiome. So what we are eating is the most important thing every day. It's a hugely important decision that you are taking towards your own health, your own politic, and also many other things that I'm not going to list right now. So if we would think like this, that what the dirt that we step our feet on is the most important thing in our lives, and have this sort of one health, that if we have a healthy soil, we will have a healthy plant, we will have a healthy animal, and we will have a healthy mankind as well. So that's what we should talk about at schools and many different places every day.
Round of applause. And how are you gonna top that?
Yeah, how am I going to top that? I cannot do that.
In 16
but we're together.
seconds.
It's all about collaboration here. No, so one thing is also like now we're all in Paris. Many of us, we go out to eat, right? We go to the lovely restaurants to get these stories out there, to get them connected to the land and to the farmers. Ask where things are from, right? When you go into a restaurant, where's the meat from? Ask questions, because with this and when we ask questions, people understand. Right? So if 10 customers go into a restaurant, all of them ask for this, they will change, but you need to ask for it, okay?
Annoying one that asks
Be the annoying one. It's okay. We got you.
And with that, I want to thank you both so much. Thank you for making the long trip here. Thank you for being the farmer on this place and bringing that perspective. And thank you, Cindy, obviously, for the work you do, putting the spotlight on people like David. So join me in a round of applause. And you can... Thank you so much.